Well, if y'all been watching the channel, you know I've been doing this trail build out here through the woods, and it's getting me a lot of firewood. Some green trees I'm having to cut down, which I'm trying to avoid that as much as I can, and then I'm finding blown down trees I'm trying to salvage for some firewood. You can see behind me I have a little pile of limbs here. I've got this limbs like this all throughout the trail where I've been cutting these trees up. So if you're interested in a trail build like that and how I'm getting this firewood, I'll put a link in the description below. But what this video is going to be about is I just got a new log rack or log catch for my county line log splitter. This is kind of one of those must-have accessories. So we're going to try it out today, especially on this smaller stuff. Larger stuff I tend to split sitting on the ground in the vertical position, but the log catch should be a real big help for the horizontal position. So we're going to find out. I've just got it bolted on. Now I'm going to grab some wood. We're going to run back up, split, try it out. All right, well here it is. I got it bolted on. Didn't figure I'd show you all that part. It's very, very straightforward and simple. 2 bolts. This is already threaded and has a nut welded on the other side, but if yours doesn't, this also came with 2 spare nuts. But like I said, real straightforward, 2 bolts on there in just a couple minutes. I'm pleasantly surprised at how thick the steel is. It is really thick steel. I wasn't expecting a whole lot for $49 or whatever it was I paid for it. I do wish it was a little larger. I'm kind of concerned about the size, but I think for the most part it'll be okay. And it's a good base to start from. I know everybody doesn't have the option that I do, but I do have a welder and a lot of scrap metal, so if I feel like I want to make this even bigger, I do have the option to do that. I just want, if you're concerned about this tipping, if you put a lot of weight on there, I was curious about that, so I disconnected it from the Ranger, and I actually just put all my weight on the rear. It did not tip, so there's no way I'll ever have that much wood on this rack. So if that's something you're curious about, don't worry about that. So this is pretty straightforward, not a whole lot to it. This is kind of going to be a test this rack out / keep running my log splitter and giving y'all updates on that. If you've watched my other 2 videos, you know I've already kind of done a little bit of a review on it. I've split a decent amount of wood with it, although I did just get it. I've already had these racks filled all the way up, done burnt one down, another one partially. So I've split several times with it. This has given me 0 problems. Starts up, runs great. And I have run some really large oak rounds through this and have not found anything yet that it won't split. So if you're concerned about a 25-ton log splitter being enough, unless you've got some really gnarly, huge wood, I wouldn't worry about it. I have split 20+ inch oak rounds, and some of them with some pretty bad knots in it, and this is busted right through it, no problem. So let's go ahead and throw some wood on here and get started and see if this little rack was worth the $50 I paid for it. Well, my concern of this not being big enough has already been answered. I don't know if you could see from that other angle. An issue that I'm running into, I was hoping I could put 2 to 3 pieces of wood on this rack, but it's just too small. So what's happening is I come down and split this wood. When it starts splitting, it starts wanting to push these logs off onto the ground. Well, at least this one. So it's looking like I'm only going to be able to split one piece and have one piece on the rack waiting unless I extend this and make it bigger. So if that's going to be a concern of yours, keep that in mind. However, I think most people are buying this rack for the simple fact of when you put a piece of wood up here, split it, one piece wants to fall off, you want to catch one piece, and you don't want that piece falling off on the ground that you got to pick up again or hitting your motor. So if you're not going to have wood stacked over here and waiting, the catch is going to work just fine for if you're concerned about wood falling off. But I was hoping to be able to have 2 or 3 pieces stacked waiting on me, as well as being able to kind of split and, you know, deal with the piece. So I don't quite know what I was expecting. I guess I just thought that would be bigger than it is. So it's looking like I'm going to have to take one of these pieces off, just have one small piece, can split, lay a piece over, and that's just going to be the way it is, at least till I modify this. Let me show you what I mean. All right, well, my thoughts thus far, it's a little more positive than I was thinking. Once I've got down to a little bit smaller size wood, which I know some of this round stuff I could burn whole, I still like to split it. It helps it really dry evenly. But once I stack smaller pieces on there, you know, I have more room. But if you're gonna split larger stuff in this position, you're, like I said, you're only gonna be able to get one piece on there and one actually on the splitter. So that's a bit disappointing. But I may fix that down the road and modify this. And if you've watched any of my other review videos on this log splitter, you know, I told you I'd be honest if I had any problems, anything going on. Something disappointing just happened. I got into a really hard, knotty piece of live oak. Some of this is live oak. It's a mixture of wood. Live oak's probably the toughest wood we have to split down here. And it hit a knot and kind of bogged, and this started moving real slow. And I don't know if y'all can tell, I actually chipped my blade. It took a chunk out of this blade. Wasn't no metal in that tree, no nothing. It just got to an extremely hard knot, stopped for a second, and then powered down and kept on going. But that's extremely disappointing that this is already chipped. I don't think this is going to affect how this splits wood, but if it's continued to chip down the road, I don't know. I'm going to have to try to figure out how to grind this to a sharp point myself, maybe weld a new edge on, and then grind that back down, but that's kind of disappointing. Speaking of the cutting edge, I had a viewer, suggest why don't I get a 4-way. Well, I looked at them, and I'll be honest with you, I was extremely disappointed in the reviews and what I seen, at least the one that fits this model. It had a nice main wedge, but it had tiny little wings that come off the side to do the 4-way splitting. Complaints online of those little wings breaking off. It doesn't look very well built. And there were some complaints too that it doesn't split wood into 4 sections very well. And I could see that, being that the wings are that wide, whereas most 4-way splitters have outside wings that are much larger. So kind of disappointed to see that. So if any of y'all are watching this and have this splitter and have bought a 4-way from somewhere else other than Tractor Supply that has really good solid wings, drop me a comment below. I am interested in one. I don't usually split a whole lot of smaller round wood like this, but as you cut up trees, it does happen. You get into a mess like this. This is where I think a 4-way would be nice. On the real large pieces, I kind of still like splitting them with a single wedge. I know it takes a little longer, but I can control the exact size of pieces that I want so they dry evenly and burn in the fireplace evenly. Although I will sit there and tell you, I do kind of like mix match pieces, so I can use smaller pieces to get a fire going quicker in coals, but I get all my small pieces from splitting these little round woods. So if you know of a good 4-way, let me know. It's disappointing to see this chip. This is the first issue I've had with this splitter. I don't think I'm gonna go through trouble hauling it all the way back to the store and talking to them about it. I've had it for, I don't know, a couple months now, so I don't know how long the warranty is. Like I said, if I have to, I'll build the edge back up and grind it down. Hopefully I don't have to get to that point. It still looks like it's splitting okay. I've still got a good pile of wood to split here, so I'm going to put this thing in fast forward. If you have any comments you want to drop, any questions for me about this, let me know. I'm still cutting a lot of firewood as I build a trail through the woods out there. Plus, I just found a gigantic oak tree in the back that looks like it needs to come down. So I'll have a lot more firewood videos in the future. I'll be pulling this out, chainsaw videos. So if you're interested in those, click subscribe. I try to put a video out every couple days, and we'll show you some more projects around our place. Thanks for watching.